The callout. On November 6, 2025, a user by the name of Richie's Finon would make a small tweet calling out their experience with an artist by the name of KuroAoiNeko. The tweet reveals a message from Neko on VGen, a commissions hub focused on content creation, where Neko states that, because of their religious beliefs, which is Islam, they do not wish to continue with Richie's request due to the nature of the art. This would cause a big ripple in the Twitter community, as both support and resentment towards Neko was rapidly building, with those supporting Neko claiming that the artist has the right to refuse service to anybody, especially if it conflicts with their religious beliefs, while those against Neko claiming that those religious beliefs should be extended to their other commissions, such as allegedly making art of demons and pornography, and their choice of specifically refusing to draw LGBT art is quote cherry-picking at their beliefs. The response. A few hours later, Neko would produce their response through a Twitter thread, where they apologized for the disheartening experience that Richie had. Neko would state that, since they had only opened their VGen account a few days ago, they didn't know that requests had to be accepted first before DMs were opened, which was different from what Neko was used to on different platforms. Neko would state that they would update their page to include their do's and don'ts, and emphasize that they weren't queer-phobic, as they were friends with queer people. This response would be met with rather mixed opinions from the community, as while the resenters weren't swayed by the apology due to the previously mentioned take, support for Neko was building up, with supporters appreciating their boundaries being set and the professionalism Neko had in their apology. This would cause Neko's Twitter to exponentially rise in followers. The follow-up statements. Richie would produce a statement on November 8, 2025, where they would state that, while they don't condone harassment towards Neko, they made that tweet as a way to warn their queer mutuals about the artist, though they did acknowledge that handling it privately was a potential course of action. Richie would then reaffirm their beliefs that racism towards white people and heterophobia don't exist, and has chosen to lock their replies to avoid discourse with quote-unquote bigots. The response from the community was overwhelmingly negative, with many individuals calling them out for being the one to start the harassment campaign against Neko in the first place, and claimed that her narcissism is why there are people in this community with negative feelings towards the LGBT community. Neko would provide a follow-up statement on November 9th, 2025, where they thanked everybody for their support. Neko would state that they have updated their guidelines and terms of service for requests, and reached out to VGen asking for clarification regarding the situation, to which VGen confirmed that Neko was allowed to decline requests based on personal boundaries. Neko would apologize for the entire fiasco that occurred, and wishes for a healthy environment where artists and clients can communicate with one another without fear of misrepresentation. Neko would also ask that the conflict between queer and non-queer individuals come to an end, as they don't want continuous division to occur as a result of this case. This would be met with generally positive responses from the community, with many commending Neko for their professionalism during the whole controversy, though negative responses still emphasize their claims that Neko's refusal is still discrimination at the end of the day. On or around November 10th, 2025, VGen would produce their own statement through their support system on their Discord server, where VGen clarifies that, while they don't tolerate any form of discrimination, they understand that certain global regions have legal consequences for producing specific kinds of art, such as art depicting same-sex or queer couples, and states that artists ultimately have the right to decline commission requests, so long as the artist respectfully and politely declines the request without any derogatory language, which they found Neko to have appropriately done in this situation. On November 13th, 2025, a user by the name of Plum Pudding would post 2 screenshots of DMs between them and Neko's older sister. However, Plum Pudding's account would end up being privated, so take the following information with a grain of salt. From memory, the post showed Neko's older sister clarifying the harassment Neko faced, such as the spread of misinformation and the death threats that they've gotten. She would state that Neko has gotten much better after seeing the support they're getting, and thanked Plum Pudding for giving them support. The aftermath. As of this video, no additional statements have been made by either party. Neko's Twitter account has risen from around 700 followers to almost 17,000 followers, with their VGen account still up, though commissions are currently paused. Neko's terms of service and guidelines have been appropriately updated as well. Apart from a small tweet on November 12th, Richie has stopped discussing the whole drama, though has kept replies locked. As with all my videos, do not harass anybody in and outside of the situation.